May this message lead you to a deep reflection on the processes and tools of self-transformation provided by the renowned Yogi Sadhguru. If you want to start your yoga journey with Sadhguru, click on the link in the description of this video and learn more.
Silent. Still we feel that mind chattery, which always bothers us, and our thought always shifts back to past and future imaginations, which will not be any of output. How to get rid of it?
A whole lot of thought about this thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness, no mind, these kinds of terms have been propagated all over the place, and these terms have been badly misunderstood and made into all kinds of things, and people are striving how to stop my mind. It took millions of years of evolution to get a mind of this kind of capability, isn't it? Millions of years of tremendous amount of nature's work that today you have a mind of this kind of scope. And now you want to stop it. Why is it that you want to stop it? If your mind was constantly producing absolute pleasantness for you, would you think how to stop this mind? Would you? No. It's producing a lot of unpleasantness. That's why you're thinking of how to stop the mind. This is the first thing, wherever you go in the world, this has gone so much into people's mind. If you tell them you meditate, they say, "But Sadhguru, I'm not able to stop my mind." I said that will happen only after you stop your kidneys, liver, heart. You stop all these things, then the mind will also stop. Do you want it to stop? No. Then why do you want the mind to stop? Why do you have such a horrible prejudice against the mind? You don't mind if your heart is beating, you can meditate. You don't mind if your liver is working, you can meditate. Your kidneys are functioning, you can meditate. If your brain functions, you can't meditate, what is the problem? You seem to have something against intelligence, isn't it? This is the conspiracy of the stupid against human intelligence, that to meditate means your brain must be frozen. No. You don't have to freeze your brain. We were looking at this yesterday itself. We will initiate you into Shambhavi. It's a simple process. There are many ways to do it, this is one simple way. But it's a powerful process. If you sit here, you will see your body is here, your mind is somewhere, who you are is somewhere else. Once there is a space between you and the mind, then what the mind is not doing, what the mind is doing is not even an issue. It is like you're stuck in the traffic jam. You're struggling through the traffic. That's one experience. Suppose you're either standing on Chamundi Hill or you're floating in a hot air balloon and look down at all the traffic. Very peacefully, traffic. Why? There's a distance, isn't it? When you're in it, traffic is a different experience. From really high up there, sitting in a hot air balloon, you look down, you can't even hear the sounds. Looks wonderful, traffic, isn't it? Yes or no? Because there's a distance. So once there's a distance between you and your mind's activity, mind is not a problem. Mind is a miracle, it is not a problem. And anyway, if thoughts are going continuously, if you're having a mental diarrhea, obviously you ate some bad food, isn't it? Yes. If you're having a physical diarrhea, you ate some bad food, isn't it? If you're having a mental diarrhea, you are obviously consumed something wrong. What this wrong thing could be is, the moment you identify yourself with something that you are not, then you're finished. Your mind is a continuous runs. There is no other way. Do what you want, try as hard as you want, it is not going to stop. If you do not identify yourself with anything that you are not, you know how to be with everything, you know how to use everything, but you're not identified with it, then you will see if you sit here, simply mind will be like this. If you want to use it, you can use it, otherwise it'll be like this. Right now your hands are like this, or you're holding it tied up because it'll go all over, is it? No. You can keep it like this. You can keep it like this, you can keep it like this. When you want to use it, you can use it. So it's a useful instrument. Suppose your hands become like this. You know, some people have become like this. Yes or no? If it becomes like this, you will become ridiculous, isn't it? If it happens to your mind, also you're equally ridiculous. It is just that you are living in the comfort that nobody else can see it. But people can see it. They watch you closely enough, they can see it, isn't it? And whether they can see it or not, that's not the point. The point is, the most important faculty of your life is out of control. Doesn't matter whether they can see it or not, that's not the issue. The issue is, the most important faculty in your life is out of control, doing its own rubbish all the time, not doing what you want it to do. So, if you have to be freed from this ailment, you should stop eating bad food. Wrong food or bad food means you're identifying yourself with things that you're not. If you sit here, if you're not identified with this and with this, then you will see everything is just fine. Then your mind will do what you want it to do. Otherwise, it will simply hang there, and that's how it should be. Mind should not be telling its own stories all the time. It should tell the story that you want it to tell, isn't it? Otherwise, it's quite a nuisance.
The secretions of the pineal in the yogic terminology.
A 92-year-old man went to his doctor for a full medical checkup. The doctor checked him up and he said, "Hey, old boy, for your age you're doing great, everything is just fine with you." But the man asked, "But doctor, what about my sex life?" So the doctor asked, "Thinking about it or dreaming about it?" The more you try not to think about something, the more you will think about it. This is the nature of the mind.
So there are many reasons why one indulges in sex. For some, it is just pleasure. For some, it is a way of building this bond and companionship. Otherwise, people feel they're going away from each other. They may be just fine, but a lot of people, it is psyched in their mind that if they're not sexually involved, they're actually moving away. Not true. You can be very close to somebody and need not be involved in any physical manner, isn't it? But societies are psyching, especially in this part of the world, people are hugely psyched. If there's no sexuality, you don't really have a relationship. In fact, the word relationship, it took me some time to understand that here, if you say a relationship, you're supposed to understand it's sex-based relationship. Nothing else is a relationship. If I can have a very strong relationship with you and not be concerned about your body, isn't it? I may not be drawn to your body in any way, but I can have a very powerful relationship with you. But all those possibilities are completely discounted. A relationship means you must be in some way physically involved, man, woman, or man, woman, woman, whatever you like. Essentially, it's body-based. What kind of body is individual choices, but essentially it is body-based. This has happened because somewhere our identification in the body has gone beyond normal levels of identity. It is excessive identification with the body. That is why body-based relationships have become the crux of the society. One who is too identified with your physical body naturally is sex-driven, because that is the highest thing that he knows.
There are ways we can make you find something which is far bigger than this. Once you taste something better, I don't have to tell you, give this up or give that up, it'll anyway fall off, isn't it? There are ways to do certain sadhana which is more intense than sexuality, which is more ecstatic than sexuality.
On one level, if you look at it, all dimensions of yoga, one way or the other, are ultimately trying to activate the pineal. Because once it begins its secretion, everything about you becomes sweet and beautiful. It creates a whole inner pleasure, which makes all the outer pleasures look like kindergarten stuff. That's the reason yogis are just sitting with eyes closed, not because they're against pleasure, they're against small pleasures, that's all. So the Shambhavi, one thing that's happening is, it stimulates the pineal secretion in a big way, which leaves you drenched in a certain level of sweetness throughout the day. It just leaves you in a certain state of ecstasy and blissfulness because the pineal gland is active. This is one aspect of your physiology which is very close to your consciousness. The rest of the physiology is about survival, but pineal gland is one aspect of your physiology which is very, very close to transcending the physical.
In the yogic traditions, this sweetness is referred to as amrita, or the ambrosia, or the elixir of life.
One drop, if it comes into the system, suddenly the whole system just cools down, the whole system is lubricated, functions at ease, the desperation in the system is gone, the desperation in the mind is gone.
So, ambrosia means… I'm saying, when there's not a single idiot on the streets of London who's willing to make such a deal, how come the source of creation is willing to make such a deal with you?
So what do you think of organized religion then?
I generally don't think about it. It is not that it has no use. See, if there was no religion, a lot more people would have lost their mental balance. It is a very inexpensive way of psychiatry. No, I'm saying, see, I want you to understand, the line between sanity and insanity is so thin. Don't think there are insane people and sane people. Every one of you are crossing the line here and there. Some people are not able to come back, that's all the difference is. Yes or no? Well, aren't you saying with somebody, I'm mad at you? So you are not mad at anybody, you're just mad, that's all. You are able to go mad for some time and come back, so you think you're normal. Somebody went there and could not come back, it became a terrible problem, all right? So, do not assume sanity is some kind of a sanity is some kind of an established status for you. No, today you may be perfect, tomorrow morning you may be gone. Do you understand? It's very much possible. Like today you're healthy, tomorrow morning you may be talking about terminal illness, it's possible for any of us. So the same thing is possible with mental illnesses also. It is not to be taken lightly, but I'm talking about not exercising different dimensions of intelligence in a human being. Making an education system which is all like a factory extruder, everybody has to come of the same shape and form. This is causing enormous distress in human societies.
Yes.
It's very nice to be with you, Sadhguru. I wanted to know about Adiyogi, because I've learned and I studied some yoga for years, and I never heard about Adiyogi except from you.
Oh, you thought Madonna invented yoga, is it? The word Adiyogi means the first yogi. We don't know the exact time, but it's somewhere over 15,000 years ago. That much we know because of certain relics we have found and certain things that have been said, certain astronomical phases that they've talked about. Based on this, we estimate it's over 15,000 years ago, we don't know the exact time. So the significance of Adiyogi is this: for the first time, for the human beings, he said, if you are willing to strive, you can cross all the limitations that nature has set up for you. Only thing is if you're willing to strive. And above all, the most important thing of this is, he's the first one. I don't want to take the credit away from the English people. Charles Darwin spoke about evolution about 150 years ago. You had a 200th birth anniversary recently. So, Adiyogi spoke of evolutionary process over 15,000 years ago. He spoke in a different language. When they asked how life happened, what is its beginning, what is its end, when his disciples asked him, he said, the first form of life was fish. Second form of life, he said, is a turtle, of amphibious life. That means life is moving out of water, finding its way on the land. You Indian people know about the 9 avatars. The next one is an animal, usually it's called a wild boar because wild boar is supposed to be the most physical creature among the mammals. So he says, it's a wild boar. Next one is half man, half animal. Next one is a dwarfed man. Next one is a full-fledged man but emotionally volatile man. Next one is a peaceful man. Next one is a loving man. Next one is a meditative man. The next one, which is yet to come, is supposed to be a mystical man. That could be you. Because if you pull out a small thing in your hand and start speaking to somebody in India or America, you're quite mystical. If you only… Yes. I'm saying, if only you had a phone 100 years ago, you could claim you're God and people would have believed it. Yes or no? So, he's not talking about individual people, he's talking about different stages of evolution. If you look at what Adiyogi spoke, in many ways it runs absolutely parallel to what Charles Darwin spoke 150 years ago. So he spoke about evolution and he said, till now evolution happened without your consent. Now you have the privilege to decide how far you want to evolve. He said, this is the most significant aspect of being human is this, that you decide your evolution. When you were a monkey, it's not my statement, it's Charles Darwin, okay? When you were a monkey, you did not decide, I want to become a human being. Nature just pushed you on for whatever reasons. But now that you're a human being, now you can decide what kind of a human being you want to be. This moment you can be like a brute, next moment you can be godlike. Both are possible for you right here. So he said the most significant dimension of being human is you determine your evolution. This is the only creature on the planet who has that freedom to do that. He said this is the most important thing, and he gave 112 methods through which a human being can evolve to their ultimate nature. So that's why Adiyogi.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. I would like to know about science of consecration, and if I'm worthy of knowing it, how do I go about it?
Oh. Well, we must congratulate 𝙎𝙙𝙪 because in the next 3 weeks she will be a mother.
Thank you.
This is terrible gender discrimination because only women are ever allowed this privilege.
She was talking to me about how she's conscious when there is a situation in any place, given place, without any logic to it, conscious of certain energies and how different people and different forms and different spaces impact you. So the science of consecration is just this. The best material to consecrate is a human being. Because of all the physical forms on this planet, this is the most evolved physical form. The easiest thing to consecrate is a human being. But the problem with the human being is, every few minutes they'll make a U-turn. You can consecrate them right now, by tomorrow morning we don't know. So first of all, to get them committed to stay with whatever is given to them is a big issue, especially in today's world. Because of that, we consecrate other forms. We always want to choose a form or a substance, first of all, which is of the highest density possible, because physical form, its strength and its integrity depends upon its density. So we normally solidify mercury to do this. This is called as 𝙎𝙖𝙙𝙮, which means it is the technology of solidifying mercury. People think it's a miracle. No, it's not a miracle. We use mercury as a process of consecration. The idea is it will change the very energy in which you are. Well, today our modern science is still busy studying physical things. Everything physical about you has been gathered from outside, isn't it so? Hello? What you call as my body is just a piece of this planet. You slowly gather it by the food that you eat. So if everything physical about you is just something else, not you, what you gathered cannot be you. What is you? Definitely there is a dimension beyond physicality. If you ignore that, there's simply no life. But right now, still the logic, the human logic which thinks it is scientific is still at this level of logic that except what I can measure on the instrument does not exist. So actually all of you do not exist because you cannot be measured. This happened to me. I don't subject myself to these indignities anymore. Way back, because of some obligation, I was in some institute, they said, we want to measure your gamma waves. I didn't know I had gamma waves. They said, no, there are gamma waves in your brain, we will measure it. So they put 14 electrodes into my body and they said, meditate. I said, I don't know how to meditate. They said, you teach everybody meditation. Yes, I do, because they don't know how to sit still. If you want, I will sit still. But this is the whole problem. Their problem is they want what kind of meditation? They want a name and the process and they want to measure the result. So I am not going to give them that pleasure. I said, if you want, I'll sit still. So I simply sat. After about 20 minutes, with some metallic object, they're hitting that funny place in your elbow, where it hurts most. Then I thought it's part of their experiment and I sat there. Then they're hitting my ankle, my knee. It became quite consistent and painful. Then I opened my eyes and said, am I doing something wrong? Why am I being beaten? They said, no, according to our instruments, you are dead. I said, this is a great diagnosis you have. But then they thought through and they said, no, it looks like your brain is dead. I said, I will stay with the first opinion. I am dead like this is okay with me. Brain dead if you give me a certificate. That's not going to be good. Why I am saying this is, the essential life that you are, you think you are going to measure it in some instrument? Only physical processes will measure, isn't it? And you know, everything physical about you is from outside, it's not yours. It's not yours, it's just a piece of the planet. So, you can't be measured, so you don't exist. What a great conclusion are you making? So what is consecration? Is a dimension of energy which is not physical in nature, but it's life, concentrated life, let's say. Consecration is a way of creating a very concentrated life process. If you walk in, it's like that. So, in certain cultures, particularly in India, every street we consecrated at one time. But people slowly misunderstood, thinking these are temples for worship, whatever, it all went into all kinds of things. But still there are fantastic spaces of consecration in that culture, you must come and experience this. These days they're measuring some bio stuff and all, they're saying some fantastic things happening, I don't know what their meters are. But I know this, Elda is saying she knows this, if you walk into a space, you know how alive or dead that space is. So is it measurable by something? No. Only life knows life. When life meets life, it knows. When life meets death, it knows. Is there some instrument to measure this? No, because all your instruments can only measure physical processes. So consecration is the concentrated life process. No human being should live in unconsecrated spaces. If you care for humanity, especially children below 14 years of age, believe me, if you make sure they spend a certain amount of time in consecrated spaces, you will not have any of this nonsense about adolescence problems. See, right now, toddler… if you're an infant, diaper problems, toddler means he's running away problems, adolescent means some other problem, middle age means crisis, old age means horrible. When are you going to live, I'm asking? You're looking at life process as a problem. It's not a problem. You are making it a problem because you're trying to fit life into your intellect. No, your intellect fits into this life perfectly well. If you try to fit this life into this intellect, it's not going to work. So consecration is a dimension and a science and a technology with which you concentrate life in such a way, if you walk in, your whole energy system bursts forth. You will see we have created spaces like this. If people just walk in, sheer intensity, simply tears start flowing. They don't know why. Simply the intensity of the place, simply tears start coming. You must every day, your cheeks should be washed with tears of love, joy and ecstasy. If this doesn't happen, you're not living yet.
Sadhguru, we've just got a few more minutes left, but I wondered, I mean, it was such a beautiful thought that you've just left us with, but I wondered if there was some final thought or a mantra or something that you can leave our audience with before they go home.
See, this is what I would like to change. To learn ABC, just 26 alphabets in English language. If you come to Tamil language, 212 alphabets at least, it's complicated. Only 26 alphabets. Tell me, how many years did you spend just learning the alphabet and learning to use it? Your basic education till high school, this is all you're doing, learning to use the language and using the language so that you can understand whatever comes your way, this is all. At least 12 years. 12 years you spent, one solar cycle that's called in yoga. One solar cycle you spent just to learn a language, to communicate with people. But to transform your life, you want a 2-minute mantra. That is what she was trying to say, because certain people told you that if you just utter this so many syllables, everything will be transformed. I'm not saying it is not possible. It is possible because sound has that power to transform if you use the sound right. But what level of preparation are you, is the question. If you throw such a small seed somewhere, it'll become a huge tree. But only if the soil is fertile, isn't it? If you put it here on this platform, will it grow? So, what have we done to ourselves? What is the level of preparedness we have? This is the issue. All of you, I could just initiate you into a powerful meditation process just like that in 2 minutes, if only certain level of preparedness was there. But to do this, a few minutes of initiation, normally in our basic program we spend 30 to 32 hours of preparation because everybody has invested in all kinds of identities. People keep asking me, Sadhguru, what is the secret? How did you become like this? I told them, this is all I did. Never identified myself with anything. The moment your intelligence gets identified with something, you must understand this, the nature of the intellect is such, suppose you identify that you're a woman. Now your intellect keeps on doing rounds around that, protecting this gender all the time. Now you say, I'm English. Now it will go only around that, protecting that. Now you say, I'm a particular religion. Now it'll go only around that. Whatever is your identity, your intellect will serve only that. The moment you identify yourself with something, you have subjugated your intelligence to just self-defense and protection and survival. The intellect could have been a penetrating force to reveal life to you. Instead, you're using it to fight life, other life, because it's a defense mechanism. The moment I have an identity, I have to defend it, isn't it? Just to be here, without any sense of who the hell I am, you actually don't know who the hell you are. Hello? Assumed stuff, isn't it? Only because you dip into your memory. So if suppose Mr. Alzheimer visits you, suddenly you don't know who the hell you are. Even now you don't know. This is an assumption based on the accumulated memory. So if you just learn this one thing before you go to bed tonight, everything that you are not, keep it aside and go to bed, okay? Say right now this clothing, is this you? No. So you understand this, not me. It's not that physically you have to keep it aside. I'm saying, you know this is not me. Is this me? This is not me. Is this body me? This is accumulated, this can't be me, isn't it? It is said, if you live here for about 75 years, you approximately eat, depending upon your diet of course, you approximately eat between 12 to 1400 tons of food. Are you carrying it right now? Hello? Those of you who are middle-aged, are you carrying at least 600 tons? Where is it? What you thought was my body is coming and going all the time, isn't it? It's not even the same body. It's coming and going all the time. So this is not me, if you keep it aside. All the impressions that you have gathered, you also gathered from outside. Keep that aside. Everything that's not you, just keep it aside and go to bed and see if you can just be little conscious till that last moment till you fall asleep. Most people don't know when they fall asleep. Most people. When I say most, I'm being generous with percentages, 99. If you make a little effort, just a little effort, a few days, if you make an effort to stay conscious till you fall asleep, you will see you will wake up like a newborn baby every day. And it's important. Why I'm saying a newborn baby, where Yelda will have this experience in a wonderful way, you will see the baby… What do you think he's trying to do? He's drinking life. You become like that. Why? Because you're just living in the capsule of your memory, you think you already got it. If you got it, you must be dead, isn't it? So people are practicing death in installments. See, if you're really super alive, it's fantastic. If you're dead, it's good. But if I want to torture you, what will I do? I will not kill you. I will make you half alive. That's torture, isn't it? This is what is self-inflicted for most human beings right now. They're keeping themselves half alive and they're wondering why life is such a torture. I just asked a simple question about a year and a half ago when I was in London. I was speaking to a very prominent group of people. I asked, how many people in London city can sit in the evening peacefully even without a glass of wine? They clearly said less than 1%. So to be healthful, you need a chemical. Today 70% of the people are on prescription medication of some sort. To be peaceful, you need chemicals. To be joyful, you need chemicals. To be ecstatic, of course you have ecstasy. I'm saying for everything if you need chemicals from outside, This is not a moral issue for me. The concern is this, if 90% of the population is doing chemicals to be healthful, joyful, peaceful, everything, the next generation that you produce will be less than you. This is a crime against humanity. Next generation should be at least one step ahead of us. But if you produce a generation which is behind you, you're seeing this. You're beginning to see this everywhere. If you produce a generation which is less than you have committed a serious crime against humanity. This will happen in a big way if we don't go off chemicals, both prescribed and otherwise. Your own pleasure. If you're extremely joyful within yourself, you found the amrita within yourself. You're an extreme state of pleasantness. Now, being with people, not anymore about squeezing pleasure out of them. Being with people is just being with them. Only now you're truly capable of love. Otherwise, it is just a open sesame trick. I love you means, whether they believe you or not, for that moment they make themselves believe you. Because they are also in need of something, you're also in need of something. Isn't it? It's like Alibaba under 40. Open sesame means it opens. This is just like I love you means many things open up. Now, by doing this, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, that's the way people conduct their life, there's nothing to it. But by doing this, the true possibility of knowing an intense sense of love within you is lost. You're here constantly looking, what can I get out of this person, what can I get out of that person? This is a con job. It's called a love affair but it's a con job. But if you are extremely ecstatic by yourself, when you're being with people, it's about sharing your ecstasy. It is about, if they are not touched by it, somehow to touch them with it, rather than seeing what you can squeeze out of them. The whole fundamentals of your life will change. Yes and no, in the sense, it is not the sexuality which limits it, but it's the excessive identity with the physicality which limits it. So, it is not sexuality per se which becomes the barrier, but the attachment it creates to the physicality which definitely becomes the barrier. This question is coming from a certain amount of bits and pieces, the gossip that you have heard about how you could assimilate your own semen and raise it up to your higher possibility. Yes, it is true. At the same time, it is not because of abstinence that one does it, it is because of internalizing your energies that you do it. It is not simply that somebody is abstaining from sex and suddenly his energies are all organized and it's going up. It's not true. If your energies get organized and begin to move up, the need for sexuality may evaporate for you, but it doesn't leave you incapable. It doesn't leave you impotent, but the need is gone. It is just no more a compulsive thing. And it is not just this one thing, all compulsiveness is lost. Essentially, most of the sexuality that's happening on the planet is happening because of a certain compulsiveness, isn't it? It's a compulsive drive. When you become conscious, when all compulsiveness disappears, this also disappears. It is just that because people are so body-oriented, they're always thinking spirituality versus sexuality. They are not connected. They are not connected. One is of the body, another is of a different dimension.
It is simply because people are because religions of the world, moral schools and the ethical schools have been always speaking against it, it has become such a big issue in people's minds. They think the only way to know something beyond is, you must be away from this. Because somewhere you're not able to accept the simple biology of a human being, which is the tragedy, that you cannot accept the simple biology. You either have to celebrate it or you have to push it down the drain. Both are not needed. You can look at it for the limitation that it is and for the possibility that it is. So, if because of the impurity of sex, your spirituality is going to get disturbed, I want you to know that your very birth is impure. When you come from such an impure birth, where is the possibility for you? There is no possibility for you. Only if you fell from somewhere else, if the stoke dropped you, there is some possibility of you becoming spiritual. If your mother had a normal birth, you have no possibility. A 6-year-old girl came home one day from school and asked, "Mama, how was I born?" The mother was embarrassed. She said, "A stoke dropped you." She said, "Okay." She noted down, "Mama, how were you born?" "A stoke dropped me too." "Mama, how was grandmama born?" "A stoke dropped her too." Then the girl became serious and she went down and sat down and started writing something in her homework. Then the mother was feeling uncomfortable, she finished her cooking and then the girl had finished her homework and left the book there, she went and read. So the essay was about the family tree. So the girl had written, "For 3 generations in my family, nobody had a natural birth." So because of absurd ideas, either we exaggerate something or we try to unnecessarily play it down. It has a certain role in your life. If you make it too big, you will become perverted in your head. If you try to obliterate it, you will become even more perverted in your mind. After all, now I am speaking, this is a kind of energy. You are looking at me, this is a kind of energy. You are listening to me, this is a kind of energy. These are different expressions of the same life energy, isn't it? Now, sexuality is also another expression of the same energy. Now, one has to decide how much of his energy, in which direction he wants to send it. Because after all, you are a limited amount of energy, isn't it? See, it's just like you have an income, let's say you have $5,000 a month. How much for the house rent, how much for eating, how much for schooling, how much just for fun, how much for vacation, you apportion, isn't it? Tomorrow morning, you got your salary, in the evening you went out and blew it up. Now the next month is going to be trouble, isn't it? Of course you have a credit card, but everything in your life, if you're handling your life sensibly, everything in your life is apportioned according to your understanding, your need and your capability, isn't it so? Yes? Your money, time, energy, isn't everything allotted the way you like to arrange it? This is also the same thing. How much of it? First of all, do you need it? Or are you doing it because of socially you're psyched? If there is a need, If I ask you to stop it, you will become perverted because it'll all happen in your head. If somebody is telling you, you have to do it, if you don't do it, you're not normal, another kind of perversion will come. Both are not needed. After all, you are not going after a man or woman, you are going after a certain level of pleasantness. So once you experience a certain level of pleasantness, wouldn't you like to dig deeper into this? Because whatever pleasantness happened, maybe you used the other person, but the pleasantness happened within you, right? So suppose anyway the pleasantness is happening within you, the other person is just a key to open this, wouldn't you like to have the key in your own hands? Yes? That if you sit like this, you are on full scale. You don't need anybody. No, see, anything in your life, either for pleasure, money, love, this, that, it doesn't matter what, for whatever, the moment you become dependent on another person, nobody on this planet is truly reliable, isn't it? I keep hearing these complaints all over. Some people, generally women, keep complaining their husbands are excessively physical. Some woman constantly complaining, he doesn't lay a finger upon me. Whatever happens, it's a problem, because it'll never happen exactly the way you want it. As long as another person is involved, nothing will ever happen 100% the way you want it, isn't it so? Yes or no? It never will. It doesn't matter if you get married to your god, it still won't happen. As long as your way of being, your sense of pleasure and joy is dependent on other person, you will always have a complaint. Doesn't matter how wonderful the other person is. So in this context, people might have talked about celibacy because they said, take some time off. Because to extract pleasure out of somebody, you have to play any number of tricks. It doesn't happen simply. This is called as courting. Once you go to the court, the judgment day will come. It takes enormous amount of time, effort, energy, and all kinds of other things, frustrations, jealousies, problems, everything attached to it. So somebody said, take time off from those things and see if this could be internally generated, and then being with people will become more out of your love than out of your need, which is definitely a better way to be with people, isn't it? It is definitely a better way of honoring another human being, isn't it so? Give this a little more attention. Instead of paying attention to that one and that one and that one, give this one a little more attention. It will produce much more pleasure than any other one can produce.
For most people, the word orgasm always means sexuality. It gives you a certain sense of peak, but it doesn't take you to an absolute peak. But once one knows how to be orgasmic without the need of the physicality, then it's a perpetual orgasm. Generally, for most people, or at least in language, if not in experience, for most people the word orgasm always means sexuality, but that's not the fact. Essentially, an orgasm means an internalized ecstatic state. It is being used generally in language with relation to sexuality because, unfortunately, for most people, they have known no other experience bigger than the physical intensity of sexuality, probably. Most people have not even known anything more than that. So they have started using the word orgasm for sexuality. The word orgasm means much more than that your whole organism has reached a certain peak. Sexuality doesn't do that. It gives you a certain sense of peak, but it doesn't take you to an absolute peak where every cell in your body will burst. So, it is… sexuality or sex is an inadequate activity to be described as an orgasm. It's inadequate. It is just that when physically one reaches a certain state of ecstasy, there is a limitation. But once one knows how to be orgasmic without the need of the physicality, then it's a perpetual orgasm. In India, we have a better word for this. We call this Ananda. Ananda is orgasmic. We described God as an orgasm. We said God is Ananda, Brahmananda. So when we say Brahmananda, what we are saying is, what you refer to as God is an ultimate orgasm. If you are sincere enough to look at life without the conditionings of the wasted religious processes, essentially the only thing that a human being is looking for is ultimate state of pleasantness. He calls it kingdom of God, he calls it heaven, he calls it whatever. Essentially he is looking for an ultimate orgasm. He is not looking for anything else. So God has been described as Ananda, or God has been described as orgasm. Orgasm is not a sufficient word. Ananda is saying that thing in a much bigger way than the word orgasm says it. So in the East we called God as Ananda. Ultimate orgasm is God. If you want to settle for limited things, you can try sexuality, alcohol, drug. It will only enslave you, it doesn't liberate you. Because this is not Ananda, this is just pleasure. Pleasure is always entangling. People seek pleasure essentially because joy is missing, because bliss is missing. If you are blissful, you would definitely not seek pleasure, isn't it so? If you're right now really blissful, would you seek pleasure? Pleasure is just a shadow of blissfulness. It is never the real thing, it just gives you a shadow. But when you have not known the real thing, even a shadow will do. I'm not against it, but if you do not realize the limitation of pleasure, you will get entangled in it. The more and more you seek pleasure, the more and more you get entangled to the objects of pleasure. But the more and more blissful you become, the more and more you become free from everything. When you're truly blissful, nothing is needed. No food is needed, no sleep is needed, even life is not needed. Actually, when you're truly blissful, you're willing to die. Please see this. Only that one who is constantly willing to die every moment of his life, only that one will know life. Because if you do not know how to fall into the abyss of life, you will never know the peak of life. Life is one inside the other, that's the problem. But people think one is against the other because they're using their logical mind to decipher life. Life and death are one inside the other. Are they one after another? They are not one after another, they are one inside the other, please see. And only if you willing to fall into that abyss of death, you will know the peak of life. Generally, in English language, if you're in a hopeless condition, we say, it is said in English, you're falling into a bottomless pit. Please understand this. Look at the superficial nature of people's understanding. If a pit is bottomless, there's really no danger, isn't it? It is the most wonderful thing. If something is bottomless and you fall into it, it is an eternal free fall. Only because there is a bottom, there is a problem. Once it happened, Shankaran Pillai fell off the second floor. And he was hurt. People gathered around him and asked, "Did the fall hurt you?" He said, "You idiots, it's not the fall, it's the stopping." It's never the fall, it's always the stopping which hurts you, isn't it?
On a day when you're joyful, how flexible you are. Hello, how wonderful you are. I would like to meet you on that day when you're very happy. What a wonderful human being you are. Another day you're little unhappy, little dragging your feet, little depressed, frustrated about something. Oh, you could be a nasty human being, isn't it? This is true with every human being. This is the mistake we have made about humanity. We try to produce good people. Good people are insufferable. Yes, those who think I'm very good are usually people that you don't want to live with. Hello? We need more joyful and sensible people. Can I tell a joke to him? He's a lawyer. So this happened. I'll tell him a joke because he's a lawyer, he must laugh. Because it's a dreary, serious place, where he goes. So on a certain day, Shankaran Pillai called his 3 sons. And he said, "You good-for-nothing people, you idiots, go do something good in the world." They said, "Father, we don't know how to do any good thing. How do we do good things? We don't know any such thing." Said, "Go help somebody, do something good you do." So they all went out. In the evening, first son came back. Shankaran Pillai asked, "Did you do any good thing?" He said, "Yes, father, I helped an old lady cross the street." Very good. Second son came. "You?" "Yes, father." "What did you do?" "I helped an old lady to cross the street." Third son came. "What did you do?" He also said, "I also helped an old lady to cross the street." He said, "What? All 3 of you found 3 old ladies to cross the street?" He said, "No, father, you don't know how stubborn these old ladies are. Whatever we did, she wouldn't come. We also called our cousin, Ramu. Together all 4 of us held the 4 limbs and made her cross the street, but she wouldn't." You can do good things like this.
Anyone else? Is that okay, Guruji?
I'm a professional comedian and I also do executive coaching. My question is, how can I improve my skills in engaging people better and improving how they have their learning journeys?
See, if you understand you're very stupid, you can be funny. If you think you're smart, it's very hard to be funny. No, people are not getting it. See, the thing is, as we already went through, we are a tiny speck in this universe, da-da-da. We don't know a damn thing. Hello? We've assumed all kinds of things. We've assumed and invented all kinds of things to somehow bring some solace to ourselves. We don't know a damn thing. This is a fact. Yes or no? Neither religions nor science knows a real damn thing about what is life. We know a few things for practical purposes. Beyond that, we don't know anything. How is our existence happening here in the middle of nowhere? No, God created us. Well, you must be a nursery school child to go with that story. Anyway, the important thing is, if you really look at existence, if you look at one leaf, if you look at it for one whole life, you will not still understand it. You're pretty stupid, isn't it? If you understand that in the larger intelligence of this existence, your intelligence is such a puny little thing, then you will be funny naturally. If you think you're smart, then it's very hard to be funny, because if you cannot laugh at yourself, how can you laugh at somebody? You'll be sick if you simply laugh at other people, isn't it?
How do I find that perfect spot between contentment and chasing an ambition? Basically, the reality of my life and the expectation that I have of it.
See, contentment means containment. Why would you want to contain yourself? Because you're afraid if you overstep, you may suffer. This is what I've been talking from the beginning. If you know how to be blissful by your own nature, one thing that happens to you is you have no fear of suffering. Only when you have no fear of suffering, you can walk full stride, no problem. Because what happens outside of you does not change the experience of your life. You know, we're doing huge projects around the world. Whatever we can do, everything. People around me sometimes say, Sadhguru, if you take this, we don't know whether we'll do this, whether we'll be successful in making this happen. I said, why are you worried about success? It's about doing what we think is needed. It may work, it may not work. Anyway, shall I tell you my problem? Can I share my problem with you? This happened. This is the 40th year that I'm teaching like this. It started in 1982. So, on that day, I just sat in one place and suddenly I exploded into an ecstatic state where like every cell in my body is dripping ecstasy. And I thought I'm sitting there for 10-15 minutes, but when I opened my eyes, about 4.5 hours had passed. For the first time, tears. Me and tears were impossible. Tears to a point my shirt is all wet. I'm sitting there for 4.5 hours, dripping ecstasy, there's no way to describe this. I'm a super skeptical person at that time. I'm a hardcore atheist at the time. And then I shake my head and think, what's happening to me? Maybe I'm going off my rocker. Then I ask my closest friends, something is happening to me. If I close my eyes, I'm gone. Come on, what did you pop, tell me? Those were the days of mushrooms and this and that. Come on, what did you take, where did you get it? I knew there was no point talking to anybody because there was no context to what was happening within me. I am not raised in any spiritual whatever. We were not forced to practice any religion at home, very agnostic kind of family, so I've barely ever been to a temple or a puja or anything in my life. So I don't know anything, all I know is I've hit a gold mine. If I close my eyes, I'm gone. So this started happening more and more. In about 6 to 8 weeks, it got established like a living experience. Then I sat down and made a plan. I was only 25. I sat down and made a plan. On that day, the world's population was 5.6 billion people. I just thought, who wouldn't want to be absolutely ecstatic for no reason? Simply, if you close your eyes, you're gone, boom. Who wouldn't want it? I couldn't imagine one idiot on the planet who wouldn't want it. So 5.6 billion people, I made a plan, in 2.5 years' time, I will make everybody blissful. Here I am 40 years later. Population has become 8 billion, generation Z has come. XYZ, whatever. And today people say we've touched over 2 billion people, but that's not my idea of a humanity, it's 8 billion plus. So, I'm destined to be a failure. I will die a failure, I know this. But I will die a blissful failure. Do you want to be a blissful failure or a successful, constipated person? You think you're successful because you set up such small goals for yourself. I did it. What's the point of that? You set up something that is larger than yourself, something that you cannot do in this lifetime. If you take 2 steps, somebody will take the next step. So, my blessing is you must die a blissful failure. Is it okay?
They say try and understand a human being and understand what others think about you. And my struggle is, am I looking at others to understand myself, or do I try and understand myself? Is there a way to understand self?
So, this is a choice you have. Please sit down, I'm sorry. But you must rephrase your introduction. This is not a small question, okay? So, this is a choice that you have with your life. Do you want to understand this life or do you want to experience this life? This is a choice, make that choice first. Because you thinking, I understood life, anybody who thinks they have understood life, they've just drawn their own conclusions, that's all. People who think they understand life, everybody around thinks is a bloody nutcase. Yes or no? You experience your life. If you experience your life, are you experiencing it in a joyful way or a miserable way? This is the only choice you have. As I said earlier, the problem with us is, we have always been, the religions of the world especially, not so much in this culture, but the religions of the world have largely been talking about understanding life. In this culture, we don't understand life. We just want to profoundly experience our life. How to make our experience life more profound than the way it is right now. This is the goal of this culture. But we've become so much westernized. See, all of you are in jackets, though it is summer, so we are very westernized. So, because of that, we are thinking of understanding. We are thinking of being good human beings. We don't need good human beings. Because people who think they are very good, they're the ones who do the most terrible things. Right now, a suicide bomber thinks he's doing a very good thing. If he did not think so, he wouldn't throw his life at it, isn't it? Hello? If he thought he's doing a worthless thing, would he sacrifice his life? He believes that he is doing a very good thing. So please don't do good things, they are dangerous. If you're joyful and sensible, do the most sensible thing around you, do the most appropriate thing around you right now. Because our actions are relevant to the times in which we exist. It's not independent of the times in which we exist, yes? All our actions are not independent of the times in which we exist. It's not all ours, it is where we are. Accordingly we act. So this is your action. We are always trying to fix the action. You must understand, action is a consequence of how you are. But today your education is training how to act. Nobody is telling you how to be. Because of that, no matter what you do, in the end you're confused. See, I don't know if you've been around people who pass, you know. If you've been around the last moments when people pass, you will see 80% of the people are not in pain, not in fear, they're just bewildered. Because they misunderstood their psychological drama as life. Right now it's happening to all of you, I'm telling you. You're misunderstanding your thought and emotion as life. This is your drama, you can play this drama whichever way you want. If you're a good director, the drama ends the way you want. If you're a bad director, it goes out of hand. It's your drama, isn't it? Hello? Right now, what dialogues are going on within you, it is your drama or no? Are you a good director that you will make it the way you want? Or are you such a lousy director, it just runs away by itself? So you're misunderstanding psychological drama as life process. You will pay for this. But unfortunately, most people don't realize this till the last moment comes. You will see they're bewildered because life didn't even begin, but it's getting over. This is what is happening. No, this is not what should happen. You must experience your life. What is there to understand? What will you understand? You will draw conclusions, isn't it? Life means this, life means that. Can I tell you a story? This happened. In 1924, there was a bishop in the Greek Orthodox Church. Greek Orthodox Church, they have their own pope in Istanbul. It was Constantinople at that time, but they've become a small group now. At one time, they were a very influential group. So this bishop, being in Istanbul or Constantinople, it's on the Silk Route, all these exotic stories from India and China washing across the Bosphorus, he's been hearing so many things about mysticism, mystics, all kinds of yogis and variety of things. So he always had this desire, he wanted to go to India and meet a real yogi or a mystic. But being a man of cloth, he couldn't decide where he goes. Time passed, he was over 60 years of age. Then he got an opportunity to come to India. He came to southern India. He had a good guide who took him somewhere and said, if you go up this mountain, he gave some directions and said, there is one cave where there is a yogi, he is the man for you. So our man, bishop, walked up. Mountains are not kind to you unless you kept yourself well, You may be very fit in the city, once you go in the mountains, it's a different story. So our bishop went huffing, puffing, then he reached this place. In front of a cave, a yogi was sitting blissed out. So he had been told, if you see an Indian yogi, you must prostrate. But there are objections. So with great difficulty, he went down and scraping his knees and making all that fuss, he got up. Yogi heard this commotion and slowly opened his eyes and smiled. Then the bishop asked, can I ask you a question? The yogi said, by all means. Then the bishop asked, what is life? This is what you're asking right now. Now he's over 60 years of age, now asking what is life. You should have asked this question when you were 8. When you were 8, you have the intelligence to ask this question. But maybe you were too playful, you did not ask. At least when you're 16, you should have asked, because that is the time questions will plague you. You somehow dodged that also. Now you are over 60, you're asking. Good, better late than never, at least you're asking now. So when he asked, what is life? The yogi went into raptures. Life is like the fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze. So, what? Fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? My teacher told me, life is like a thorn. Once it gets into you, if you sit, it hurts, if you stand, it hurts, if you lie down, it hurts. For most people, it's become like that, isn't it? Whatever they do or they don't do, it hurts. If they do something, it hurts, if they don't do that, it hurts. Then you are saying life is like fragrance of jasmine upon gentle spring breeze? So yogi said, that's his life. So I'm saying, this life, what you call as life, is not a defined quantity. You can make it what you want. This is the beauty of our existence. Instead of making it a profound experience and a constant exploration. You want to define, because if you want to understand, you must define, isn't it? You cannot understand something which is not defined. The moment you're defined, you're already in a box. No, I'm being gentle with the box, you understand?
Yeah. It's been absolutely enlightening conversation, and just made me think and just wonder that sometimes you have a perception of what you think you are. Then there's one perception of what people think you are. And then there's a third of what you think people think you are.
You're thinking too much.
That's part of my problem. See where I get the overthinking from.
No, there is no such thing as overthinking. Yep.
Is it necessary that all three
Should match.
Does it need to be in harmony? And if it is not, then does it mean that you're not in harmony with the universe?
Only when we are dead, we are the way people want us to be. Because they can make whatever they want out of us. When we are…
You know what you are, but sometimes people…
No. You know what you think you are. All right? That's how the question started. You think you are this, they think you are that, now you think they may be thinking something else. All right, so it's all a thought. Thought, you can make it any way you want. Right now, as an experiment, all of you, if it helps to close your eyes, do this. Otherwise, with eyes open, if you can do it, eyes closed is better. Think of a tiger, can you? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Think of a flower, can you? A mountain, you can. So I'm saying you can think what you want, whatever you want. But right now, you have given up that choice. Now your thinking has become a rut, it thinks in a certain way. So that is not called thinking. The word thinking means you consciously generate a certain thought, that is thinking. Otherwise, it's called mental diarrhea. It's simply running. So if it's simply running, why is thought process simply running? See, suppose my hand is simply jumping. What will you think? Oh, maybe Sadhguru has some ailment. If your mind is simply jumping around, what should I think? Same thing, only thing is, nobody else can see. That's the only comfort you have, but that's not true. If somebody pays enough attention, they can see. So, this is not one person's problem, this is because there's a fundamental flaw in how we perceive ourselves. When I say how we perceive ourselves, what we call as our body. Were you born like this, ma? Just like this? You were just this much.
Smaller?
Yes, she was also small, you can't believe that? Oh, my mother small? No. No, she was only this much. Slowly it became this much. How? How? What made it like this? Food that we eat, isn't it? So what you call as my body is accumulation of the food that you've eaten. The food that you've eaten is just a piece of the planet, isn't it? We get it now, it's great. Otherwise, one day when they bury us, we will get it anyway. There's no problem about realization. When will it happen is the only question. If it happens soonest, we'll live one way. If it happens latest, we die one way, okay? So, body is an accumulation, am I correct? Yes. What you call as my mind, this is an accumulation of impressions that you have taken in. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, from this you have accumulated so much. Anything that you accumulate can be yours, can never be you, isn't it? Right now I'm sitting here, suddenly I pick up this vessel and say, this is my vessel. You will say, it looks like Sadhguru has a problem. Why is he saying such a thing? But then you say, okay, let's listen some more. Everybody says he is wise. After some time, I say, this is me. Then you'll say, let's go. Because this is a clear case, isn't it? But this is happening to you every day. Food appears on your plate, you say, this is my food, you eat it and then you say, this is me. You are thinking the accumulations that you have as myself. And this is not stopping with body and mind. It is going to clothes, it's going to home, it's going to family, it's going to friends, it's going to wealth. You slowly start thinking all that is you. The moment you think of yourself as something other than what you are, your thought can never stop. It will go on endlessly, awake or asleep, it'll go on. If you release yourself from that wrong identification of believing yourself to be something that you are not, it'll become still. Then when you want, you can think, just like your hands. When you want, you can use it, when you don't want, you can keep it here. This is how all your faculties should be, isn't it? Hello? When you want, you can use it, when you don't want, you can keep it here. This is when a faculty is useful. If it runs all over the place, it is not useful. It is more of a nuisance. What is it that human beings are suffering? They're suffering their own intelligence. If you take away half their brains, they will all sit peacefully. Yes or no? They're trying to do that to themselves. Some people are soaking it in alcohol, some people are using some chemicals. So once their brains don't function, they feel peaceful and blissful. No, with full potential you must feel blissful. Disabled, you feel blissful, what is the point of that? Yes or no? You disable yourself and feel peaceful or blissful, it's no meaning. It's just like rest in peace. When you're dead, everything is peaceful. Others are also peaceful, you're also peaceful. You're alive, fully on, and you're blissful. This is important, isn't it? Because life is a bloody brief happening. Don't ever forget that. You think it is long only because in some way you have made yourself miserable or made life process burdensome. Say on a given day, if you're very happy, that day, 24 hours, poof, went off like that, isn't it? Like a moment. Another day, you're a little frustrated, depressed. 24 hours feels like a eon. So only miserable people can have a long life. If you're really joyful, before you know what's happening, it'll be gone. It's so brief. For what potential a human being carries, if you live 100 years, it's nothing, it'll be gone before you know what happened. So, the thought process going the way it is, it's not about what I think about myself, what I think about you, it's not about that. It is compulsive thought process. Compulsively, it is happening. This compulsiveness cannot be countered with anything other than consciousness. If there is darkness in this room, Mama, you must look at me, darkness, If there is darkness in this hall, if I give you the task of kicking this darkness out, even if you are a big whatever, kung fu fighter, you can't kick it out, isn't it? You just switch on the light and it's gone. That's the only way you can deal with it. So this is the only way you can deal with compulsiveness, only with consciousness. Consciousness means just this, that an intelligence beyond memory is alive within you. What did you have for lunch, Mom? You can tell me. Appam, oh, you come from Kerala. All right. Appam doesn't look like you. Appam doesn't smell like you. Appam doesn't taste like you. But you eat it and in a few hours' time it becomes you, isn't it? So there is an intelligence within this which can make an appam into a human being. What a transformation in 4 hours' time. Yes or no? Suppose I take a appam in my hand and make a human being out of it, who do you think I am? God himself, creator himself, isn't it? If I take a appam and make a human being out of it, you would think I am the creator. You are doing it every day, not in your hands, in your stomach, all right? But are you doing it or no? Hello? So this is the whole problem. There is an intelligence within you which is the very source of creation. You're completely missing it because you're too enamored with what you have gathered in terms of body, in terms of mental impressions, in terms of things and people you gathered. You're too identified with those things, so you're completely missing an intelligence which is the very source of creation. If you were in touch with that intelligence, there is no question, there will be no question in your life. There shall be no question in your life, because that is an intelligence which made everything happen. If you are in touch with that, everything is here.
Parents today, and that's me myself, want to give away everything that what we have to our children, our thoughts, our attitude. But children don't want to take it that.
I'm glad. I am glad that you have reasonably intelligent children who are not taking up your thoughts and your attitudes.
And that creates a conflict at home. So how do we create a better, harmony at home?
See, if you wanted that your children should be just like you, then, that is possible if you were some other creature. That is not possible for a human being. Your children need not be like you at all. They must think, live and do something that you could not imagine. So when they do something that you cannot imagine, you will freak, all right? You're freaking, not because they're going wrong, you're freaking because they're not like you. Because when they're not like you, they're not your property anymore. They never were your property. You must understand, you only give them a body. You can't create a life, that's not your making.
Everybody is suddenly, people who had never meditated in their lives, never even considered that possibility, are now suddenly talking about meditation, the need to meditate, wanting to meditate. Let us examine this meditation, what this is. First of all, what does the word meditation mean? The English word meditation doesn't really mean anything, in the sense, it doesn't say anything specific. If anybody sits normally with their eyes closed, it's assumed they must be meditating. One can sit with their eyes closed and do many things. You can do japa, tapa, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, shunya, samyama. Or you might have just mastered the art of sleeping in vertical postures. So the word meditation in English language doesn't specify anything. Generally we assume, or generally people assume that meditation means dhyana. In Tamil Nadu it's dhyanam, if you go little north it's dhyana, if you go really up north it's dhyan. If you go further up it becomes chan, if you go little more east it becomes zen. Same thing. So, what is this dimension that we are trying to describe with this word meditation? One fundamental thing that we need to understand is, you cannot do meditation because meditation is a quality. A quality is a consequence of a certain process. You can initiate a process, you can conduct a process. You cannot conduct a quality. Quality is just a consequence. It is like you want flowers in your garden. You don't sit there and do flower meditation. You know what happened to the flower people. If you want flowers in your garden, you don't have to think flowers. You have to think soil, manure, water, sunlight. If you conduct this process of these ingredients properly, flower and fruit is a consequence. But today, the world has become so goal-oriented. Because they're so goal-oriented, they are not interested in the soil, definitely not interested in the manure and all the other things, but they want flowers and fruit. If you want flowers without soil, manure, water and sunlight, well, you will have to settle for plastic flowers. Plastic flowers are very wonderful. Those who think of utility, it serves you in many different ways. It comes with a 5-year guarantee. Flowers are a nuisance. If you keep flowers in your house, you have to look at them at least 5 times in a day, what's happening, are they thriving well or not. But if you keep plastic flowers in your home, 5 years guaranteed, unlike your life. So essentially, the dimension and the process that you're referring to as meditation is very life-oriented. When I say life-oriented, today largely you're material-oriented or at the most mind-oriented, maybe emotion-oriented or physical body, which is a material again. Largely life has become like this. People's idea of life is, if someone says, my life, you're supposed to understand they're talking about their job. They're talking about the economic condition in the country or in the world, about their car, maybe about their dog, sometimes about their husbands or wives. It could be anything. But the only thing that's truly life is what is throbbing in this is life. The rest are arrangements that we have made, hoping that these arrangements will allow us to enhance our life. Whether it's education, career, relationships, marriage, children, wealth, whatever. All these things one is after only in the hope that it will enhance our life. As you know, most people, instead of enhancing their life, largely get entangled with these accessories. Accessories have become larger than the life process. Well, I think…
My question is, what means focus to you, and in which way can we apply focus in our daily life? So what's your definition of focus?
Okay. There are many ways to describe this word. Instead of saying focus, if you use the word attention, would you agree that attention and focus are about the same thing? There is a little difference. There are nuances to it, but when you say focus, it's just like focusing a light on something means only a focus is always a spot. Attention can be much more widespread. See, right now, if you have clear vision, I'm having problems seeing the young man because you kept him in darkness there in the hall. But if the hall was well lit, I don't have to focus myself to see the people who are sitting here. I just need attention. If I'm attentive, I will see all the people here the way they are. But now I get interested in this one young man, then I need focus. If I had only focus without the general attention about everything around me, indiscriminate attention I'm talking about, attention not even about something, just being attentive only because there is a certain level of attention and awareness within you, you even know that you exist. Otherwise, let's say in sleep, in your experience, neither the world exists nor you exist, all that's happened is there is no attention. Because there is no attention, there is no perception of any kind.